Hello, my math friends. This is Mrs. Schlecht, and in this video, we're going to go over the order of operations. All right, so you know that there's a few things you need in order to be successful for this activity. First, you're going to need your Envision textbook with our robot friend on the front. Second, you're going to need your math notebook to take those beautiful notes. Third, you'll need your pencil. And fourth, last but never ever least, you're going to need that positive math attitude. All right, my friends, so this video goes really well with lesson 3-3 in our Envision book. You can find the key concepts page on page 140. And there's a couple things I'd like to draw your attention to. So on page 140, you will see that there is a little red box that has the order of operations. And although it's tiny, what I did is I just rewrote that out. All right, so the important thing about order of operations and why we even have to do it is because sometimes in life, my friends, you're going to have these big, long math problems with addition and multiplication and exponents and grouping symbols and all sorts of fun stuff. But how do you know how you even begin to tackle such a problem? How do you even know where to start? Order of operations, that's your answer, my friends. So again, on key concepts page 140, that box, it tells you the 4 main steps of the orders of operation. So you might be thinking, oh, order of operations, Mrs. Schlecht, this is like a brand new idea. It's not, my friends. You probably already did this in 5th grade. You might have also heard it be referred to as PEMDAS, which is just an acronym that we use to help our brains remember the order of operations. So they're like samesies, my friends, okay? So for parentheses, that's the P in PEMDAS. But you'll notice that for step number 1 in order of operations, it says grouping symbols. And that's because, my friends, parentheses, those little parentheses that we have grown to know and love, those are not the only types of grouping symbols that we have in math. We also have brackets and we also have braces. So sometimes in life, we might have a big problem with parentheses, brackets, and braces. Those are all grouping symbols. Those all put terms together, and that's where you start. Step number 2 in PEMDAS is exponents. It's also step number 2 in our order of operations. Exponents. If you have an exponent, you gotta solve your exponent. And just a reminder, my friends, that exponents, for example, if I have 5 to the 3rd power, that means 5 times 5 times 5, not 5 times 3. So just remember your exponent rules. For step 3, you'll notice that for PEMDAS, I wrote my M and D next to each other like this. Step 3 is also multiplied or divide, but you don't always multiply first. You don't always divide second. How do you know which one to do? Well, you look at your problem and you move left to right. When you move left to right, whichever operation shows up first, that's the one that you do first. And fourth, my friends, the last step in PEMDAS, the last step for order of operations is addition or subtraction. And just like with our multiplication and division, my friends, it determines which one you do first with where it's ordered in the problem, right? So you're going to move left to right. So again, this is the same chart that's on page 140 on that key concepts page. I would highly recommend that you put that in your notes. All right, so now let's put this into practice. The first problem I'd like to look at together is number 8 on page 140. And I've written it here, but you might want to check it out in your book just so that you're able to see it a little clearer. There's a couple of really weird things I want to point out in this one. First, you'll notice that we have division, we also have subtraction, and we also have multiplication. So 3 different operations that we need to be doing. But that's not all, my friends. If you notice, we also have a bracket, and then inside that bracket, there's also parentheses. And then outside of the bracket and the parentheses, there's this exponent as well. So lots of different information, lots of things going on. But if we follow our order of operations, we're going to get the same answer. We're going to get the correct answer for solving this. So step 1 is my grouping symbols. So for grouping symbols in this problem, my friends, again, we got brackets, we got parentheses. How do you know which one to do first? Well, we are going to look at the group within the group. All right, so you'll notice that the parentheses are here. This is where we're going to start. So when I do this math, 2 and 5/10 times 3, I get 7.5. All right, my friends, so all I did on this second line is, instead of having 2 and 5/10 times 3 inside that parentheses, we solved that. We figured out that that's actually 7 and 5/10. So now I just substituted that. I just replaced it. So now we still have our grouping symbols, right? We have this bracket. So now I need to figure out, well, what's 11 and 5/10 minus 7 and 5/10? Did you say 4? You're totally right. So when we take 11 and 5/10 minus 7 and 5/10, our answer is 4. That means that the value of all this inside this bracket, when we use the order of operations to solve it, is just 4, my friends, all right? So again, the value that was inside this bracket after we did all that beautiful math was just 4. So now our new problem is 36 and 8/10 divided by 4 to the second power. So again, first step was grouping symbols. That second step is exponents. So are there any exponents in this problem that we need to solve? Duh, yeah. 4 to the second power, that's an exponent. So what is 4 to the second power? Since you're all so brilliant, we know that 4 to the second power is 16, because that means 4 times 4, not 4 times 2, right? So 4 times 4 is 16. So now, my friends, we did our grouping symbols. That was step 1. There's all my brackets and parentheses. Step 2 was exponents. That's how I got 16, because we did 4 to the second power. Our third step is either to multiply or divide. Now, if I look at this problem, we notice that we only have division, right? But let's say that we also had multiplication thrown in here. The way that you decide which one you do first is by which one comes first when you're reading the problem, right? So in this case, we know that it's just division because that's all we have. And then we also don't have any other addition or subtraction. So my friends, once we do this division problem, then we're done. So now let's think. What is 36 and 8/10 divided by 16? 2 and 3/3, right. So when we took this big, long, complicated expression and we followed those steps, those orders of operations, we were able to correctly solve it to get our answer as 2 and 3/10. All right, my friends, so the next problem we're going to look at together is number 10 on page 140. And for all the problems on page 40, numbers 10, 11, and 12, the big question is, hey, do grouping symbols even matter? The answer is yes. Yes, they do. But let's prove it, right? So again, let's first look at number 10 on page 140. All right, my friends, so the way that this problem is written out, we have 12 times 3 to the second powered, or 3 squared, plus 36. And our goal, what we're trying to get to, is the number 540. Now, I might need to add certain grouping symbols so that I know the correct order I'm supposed to do all these operations so that my final answer is 540. But let's just see, if I just do it straight across, what do I get? All right, so first step, if we're solving this without any parentheses, I'm not doing any parentheses yet, my friends. I just want to see what the value of this whole thing is first, all right? So P and PEMDAS, no, don't have any grouping symbols, no parentheses. Exponents is next. And if we look at this problem, we know that we have 3 squared, or 3 to the second power, which is... it's the number 9. You're right. So now I just replaced 3 squared, or 3 to the second power. I just wrote that with the actual value now, which we know is 9. So now we have 12 times 9 plus 36. So we know, based on our rules for the order of operations, that when I have multiplication or division, that comes before I can add or subtract. So now we're going to try to figure out, well, what's 12 times 9? All right, so when I did my operations for 12 times 9, I got an answer of 108. And now that last piece of my operation, or last piece of my expression, is to add 36. So now what's 108 plus 36? That's 144. But wait, let's think about this. If you remember, the goal was that I was supposed to get 540, but I only have 144. That's where grouping symbols come into play, my friends, right? Because I don't know, but I'm pretty sure 540 and 144, not the same, right? So now let's see. I know I can't just do it straight across. I'm going to need those parentheses. I'm going to need that grouping symbol so that I know the correct steps I need to perform these operations so that I can actually get 540. All right, so I just added right down here, my friends, that when we just multiplied it straight across, when we had no grouping symbols, that equaled 144, which was not the right answer because, again, we want 540. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Mrs. Schlecht, you're asking me to put parentheses in this bad boy. Well, where the heck do I put them? Guess and check, my friends. So sometimes it's okay to just start putting those grouping symbols in, solve it, and play around with it, right? Make these numbers work for you. So for making our lives easier, let's start by just putting parentheses next to the first two terms in this expression, right? So we'll put our parenthesis between the 12 and then right after the 3 squared. All right, my friends, so now I'm going to follow those orders of operations. I notice that I have parentheses right here, but inside that parenthesis, I also have an exponent. So I need to know, well, what's the value of 3 squared? And we know that that's 9. So actually inside this parenthesis, I'm doing 12 times 9. So I solved everything in my parenthesis. I was able to get that I need to do 12 times 9 first, which we know is 108. So once I've solved what's in my parentheses, which was 108, then I brought down that last term, which was adding 36. So now in order to solve for this problem, I need to do 108 plus 36. Hey, did you notice you get 144, just like over here? And that's because, my friends, when I put those grouping symbols in the first two terms, that did not change the order of anything that I solved, right? It made it the same process over here. So we know that 540 and 144, not the same. Therefore, my friends, this is not the correct setup for a parentheses. All right, my friends, so when we had no parentheses, we just got 144. When I put parentheses next to the first two terms, 12 times 3 to the second power, I still just got 144, which is not what I'm going for. So now, where else could I put parentheses to try to get 540? Let's try our parentheses with 3 to the second power plus 36. So what this means is I need to find out the value for everything inside this group. And then I'll multiply it by 12, and hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully, we'll get 540. So let's look inside of our grouping symbol. So inside our parentheses, my friends, we have 3 to the second power, which you know is 9. We'll just have 9 plus 36. So all I did here, my friends, was I just brought down our expression, right? But I changed 3 to the second power, or 3 squared, to 9 because that's the same value. Let's look in our parentheses. 36 plus 9, you know, is 45. And since the answer to 9 plus 36 is 45, that tells us that the value of this parentheses, the value of this group, my friends, is 45. So now I'm going to multiply it by 12 because that's our last piece. And hopefully we get 540. We got 540. Such a nice job, my friends. So yes, it really matters where you put these parentheses in the order that you solve these expressions, because the only time I was able to make this equivalent or make this equal to 540 was when I put the parentheses in the correct order. So do parentheses, do brackets, do braces, do their order like matter? Yeah. Oh yeah. My friends, so that was just a quick run through for lesson 3-3, which goes over order of operations. If you have any further questions after watching this video, please let me know.